early, but like the Azir, absolutely well within Yagao's champion pool at this point. But here we go. It's going to be Shun having his Kindred banned away from him. Perhaps the Nidalee will be taken off the board as well.
Shun has been a little bit experimental with his champion pool indeed. I mean, 11 games of that Vi. He is a very aggressive jungler when it does come to those early skirmishes. Ashe has been taken off. We didn't see too many Ashes in the previous series, so I'm really happy to see that banned as well. But that does mean rest of the junglers, I mean, something like the Maokai, something like the Wukong are still very viable for both teams to take up. But the next question is, all our eyes are on this mid lane matchup where if Yaga is able to get something that he is comfortable on in a winning matchup, I think BLG is very happy with that.
Yeah, definitely. 280 carries banned away though, and there's Zeri actually going to come through from BLG. We feel like Zeri really just fell off a cliff in the LPL once we got into 13.4, but despite the Yuumi nerfs, Lulu still exists as a champion. Zeri is still definitely playable.
Yeah, LCK has definitely still been enjoying the Zeri quite a bit, where we see Zeri, Lulu, Lucian, Nami every single game, but LPL definitely exploring their options with the Xayah and Kai'Sa's, which is very classic of LPL as Xayah gets locked in for the side of LGD.
Yep, so the Xayah there. Seen a little bit of that in LCK as well recently, where it seems like the game is scaling right now with the AD carry pools, and LPL starting to trend in that direction as well. But Meteor hovering the Wukong, which would be his first game of Wukong this split, but locks it in.
Oh, really interesting. I was expecting something like the Nidalee and Renekton because playing standard for LGD, I don't think you're going to be able to match up against BLG when it does come to the pure 5v5 sense. But with Wukong and Xayah being locked in, they are going to take that challenge and really see if they're up for the test in a full-on 5v5 as Lulu gets locked in. But who would have guessed Lulu Zeri was game one?
Yep, Lulu Zeri comes on through. BLG leaning into that late game style. And you would assume probably locking in the jungler here. Nidalee is open. Now, Shun is a Nidalee aficionado. I feel like Vi would be the more standard lock in here, but it wouldn't surprise me if they went for the Nidalee or even like a Maokai or something.
I mean, we wouldn't lock in the Vi here because we have seen how Vi does into Xayah. It's just not a fun time for Shun, so I'm pretty surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they let that go. Rakan is going to be the response paired up with Xayah, where this bottom lane duo are looking very aggressive, definitely trying to look for some of that early kill threat onto the bottom lane of BLG, but that does mean LGD Xiaoshu does get the counter pick in top lane, something like the Gwen or even Fiora, very viable options up against Bin. But Bin on Jax, very scary things, Munch.
Yeah, absolutely. Bin knows how to take over a game when you give him a carry, and a carry he absolutely has. We'll see what BLG are going to ban away, whether they do opt for some top lane bans or if they just say, look, Bin, you're having a blind pick, deal with it, we're banning for mid lane or something along these lines.
I do like how BLG is saving their counter pick for Yaga if it does mean anything. The junglers are going to get continuously banned out, however, so I'm assuming Vi is going to get left open because Vi going into Xayah is quite the bait pick. We see the cannon getting taken off, where they are just banning out Xiaoshu's champion pool into what can potentially be a counter into Jax. But personally, I also like the Sion into Jax. I don't think Jax will ever have enough damage to kill the Sion in the side lane, which is quite nice. And it does provide a lot of engage and tankiness frontline for LGD.
Yeah, we have seen Xiaoshu play 2 games of Sion this split, so not exactly an aficionado, but loves that Cassante, so definitely not afraid of locking in the tanks. Could also just see the Gnar if he just doesn't want to engage in the top lane and just continuously throw those boomerangs. We'll have to see what he's going to go for though. With the cannon band away, Renekton taken off the board as well.
Does leave some options open for LGD. Greg is something that I do really enjoy, definitely going to that hand in top lane where direct counter, you can't let Bin having too much fun in that top lane, as Gragas has been seeking back into the meta as both top lane and even mid jungle. I think a lot of junglers are enjoying the full AP Gragas, but even in solo lanes we see a lot of Rod of the Ages, a tanky boy in solo lanes. But yeah, mid lane is still a big question mark. LGD is saving that counter pick for Haichao because they know how important a mid party means in this game.
Certainly do. Viego locked in. It feels like a while since I've seen a Viego game. It is something that we've had a smattering of in the LPL, but it is very much a small amount of Viego that's been locked in. But Shun knows how to carry, knows how to take over a game, so Viego can certainly set up for that. Is it going to happen? The
Veigar pause champ?
Okay, yeah, guys, just betting us at this point. It's going to be Annie, though. That's still pretty exciting.
That is exciting. Annie gets locked in a second time for tonight, and it is going to be a mid lane. Annie, however, going to get responded with most likely the Syndra, where she does outrange the Annie and diffuse any engages from Annie just running straight forward at you with her shield. So really smart mid laner to round off LGD's team composition. But LGD has decided to opt into something more traditional, which isn't something we've seen up against, well, in their recent series, up against those really good teams. So I'm going to be pretty interested in seeing how these team fights work, because we have true AP champions for the solo lanes of LGD.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be an interesting game, this one, honestly. You've got very heavy team fight focus from LGD, I think it's fair to say, with basically five team fight ultimates across the squad that LGD are bringing to the table. But BLG, a fairly similar story where you've got that Zeri, you do like to look for team fights there, but with a Jax, a Viego, and Annie, perhaps a little bit more skirmishing ability.
Yeah, I mean, this Viego definitely caught me off guard from June, his first Viego game in the spring split, and I do like it paired up with Annie because I see Annie as more of a utility mid laner compared to a hard scaling mid like Syndra, so she is going to be able to set up for a lot of those mid 2v2 skirmishes or even side lane skirmishes where Viego needs to get those resets to pop off in team fights.
Yeah, he'll definitely need to be able to kind of get the ball rolling. It is a pick that we've seen from Shun in previous splits. He's got 16 professional games on the Viego, so certainly not something that he's a stranger to. But we'll see if he can take control, take over, because the second that you start winning a fight as Viego, you can just take things into your own hands. Like, let's say you get the Syndra, suddenly the QE comes out, you can ult onto them again, like instantly you just completely start snowballing.
Most definitely, but the thing that is concerning me for the side of BLG is that they have two hard scaling champions with the Jax and Jerry being locked in for this game one, where if LGD doesn't find their way in those mid-game skirmishes, you're not going to have an answer for this Jax. A lot of gyros from the crowds.
Yeah, I feel like fairly even between the two teams, relatively even there. But yeah, like you say, keeping our eyes on Bin on this Jax. But Xiaoshu should have a very good matchup in that top lane to stop Bin from getting himself ahead.
Most definitely. We do have a lot of lockdown CC from LGD. I mean, Hangzhou locking in Syndra for mid lane does mean he is going to get that mid lane party in these early stages, which does allow Meteor to have a much freer time looking for side lane ganks. But Shun on this Viego, I mean, there's a reason why Viego wasn't doing too well in the meta, where Sejuani and the Maokai was definitely the stronger champions compared to a champion that relies on full clearing. I believe the camps are going to get changed in patch 13.5, where full clearing is going to come back. Karthus perhaps, where camps do provide more gold. Not quite yet though, so Shun definitely just picking it as a comfort.
Yeah, that's still a little way away until we until farming becomes viable in the jungle again. We'll see how that
farming,
changes
please.
the
Resident sleep until like 40 minutes. I was like, oh, wow, Karthus press ultimate. What a surprise.
I will say, seeing all the Veigar V2 clips of Karthus jungle or Karthus mid lane a lot of the time on Twitter, where he just presses R 6 times across a game and just wins the game off the back of it. It's very interactive gameplay, has to be said.
Most definitely. I mean, looking at this bot lane 2v2, BLG is able to get that first push, but as long as Xinjiao is able to burn a flash from BLG's bot lane, I mean, Meteor is very happy to consistently gank a flashless bottom lane. A pause does ensue, however. Not too sure what this is for. Hopefully it's not going to be too long.
Yeah, hopefully things will get figured out and we'll work out what the pause is and we'll update you once we know as well. As looks like it was an LGD player there that the referees were huddling around, perhaps trying to sort an issue with a peripheral or something along those lines. Quiet start to things.
Yeah, very quiet.
Not super surprising though, when you consider the AD carries we've got on these teams. And even the solo laners, you want to get a couple of levels in before you can really kick things off. But I feel like once we start to get to like level 3, 4, that could be where things like the Annie can start to make plays.
Zyrakan definitely looking for level 4 spikes as well, as Annie is just trying to match the Syndra in that mid lane. But something that I'm looking out for LGD is that they have two hard pushing solo laners where Gragas will have a relatively good time up against Jax in the early game, while Syndra does have that extra range trying to clear the minions in mid lane. So Meteor can have a lot of options, but Xun...
Oh, Xun walked straight over a ward, but I don't think it's going to matter. The slows are there. One more Q would do the job. And we said he's got a snowball, and Xun starts it off in style.
One kill into pockets of Xun at 3 minutes. I mean, that's exactly what you are looking for as BLG. The kills are going to the carry jungler's hands as Yagal sets it up perfectly by landing the flash stun, as Haichao was caught a little bit off guard from the pause, but does burn the TP as well. Double summoners from Haichao, where Xun getting that extra 300 gold into his pockets does mean great things for BLG, and definitely not a slow start for this Viego.
Absolutely not. Great little kickoff to the game for him. And importantly as well, spotted on the ward as he went towards his Krugs, so at least LGD know where he is currently. But here, look, he actually walks over the ward, but because of the flash stun from Yagao, it doesn't matter.
There must have been some miscommunication saying that Viego would have been topside, because we saw Haichao hard leaning towards this bottom side river, where he was just completely caught out of position as Yagao flashes in and gets the stun off. But both junglers are trading Scuttle, where LGD's bot lane is still getting consistently pressured in by Elulu.
And like, this is more like it when it comes to Annie. We saw Annie in the first series today, and I mean, it didn't really do anything for RA.
It did one thing.
Yeah, exactly. We saw one big play later on in the game, but it was kind of too late at that point. Here, though, we see Yagao like more than willing to flash in and make a play alongside his jungler. And this is really where Annie is going to shine, right? When you can set up plays like this. Yeah,
I love Yagao on these utility champions where he is able to set up for a lot of those major plays. I think he just has something in his vision where he sees the correct play and he goes for it. He sends it, and it leads BLG to generate so much gold from the early stage of the game. Exactly what Yagao has translated into as a player.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's always been a player that's willing to play set up for the rest of his team, but managing to just consistently make it happen, especially with Xun in the jungle. Elf to be able to dashes away from the knock-up, and Jin Zhao the one that almost goes down instead. Stun from Haichao keeps himself safe in the mid lane, but just consistent aggression coming out across the map. For BLG, it's in the mid lane, and for LGD, it's down towards the bottom side.
Yeah, I mean, Munch, I've been saying landing that W is going to be super important for LGD's bottom lane, as you want to burn those flashes early on in the game, as that allows Meteor to rotate towards his bottom lane and create even more kill threats. But Xun is going to start the Dragon, as we know that Jingao was forced off lane from the previous poke or Ali's trade. But BLG early game looking relatively stable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Xun going to be able to give himself the strength. They're at 1,500 gold ahead. I don't know how they're so far ahead. I mean, 20 CS lead in that bottom lane is kind of absurd. Like, I don't see any reason that Seri should be 20 CS up in the bottom lane in 6 minutes. Perhaps there was a big stacked wave, and it's all going to be minimized now as Haichao takes a huge chunk from Yagao. Tibbers getting involved in the action.
I completely forgot about how Syndra can just throw Tibbers away. It's like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Bit of a chunk from Yagao, however, does get him to half HP. Hopefully we get to see more plays from Xun, as Haichao doesn't have the flash available, but Bin is absolutely giga-chatting this lane by just proxying the Gragas.
Yeah, he's just like, you know what? If I can't trade into you, I'm just going to ignore you completely. I can't be bullied out by you if I'm not in your lane. If I just go elsewhere.
Are we looking at the same Gragas Jax matchup?
Yeah, I know. I'm not entirely sure what's going on.
Well, hopefully that does. That was just a blink in the system, but we see Meteor and Jinjiao rotating towards his mid lane as Yago has flashed in about 5 seconds. Definitely counting on that summoner timer. Herald is going to be spawning in 40 seconds, but you desperately need those level 6 spikes as the support and jungle of LGD.
Well, Elk getting himself 2 plates super early on here. I mean, this is kind of disgusting what's happening in the bottom lane. The fact that Jinjiao not able to land these knockups so far. And On just leaving the bottom lane entirely. Just going to go help Yag out for a minute. Going to clear some vision away and support the rest of the team. Confident that Elk can just happily farm away in the 2v1.
Elk doesn't even have that cleanse, so he needs to be careful if Jinjiao hits level 6, but he is still relatively far from the previous mid game, so it doesn't seem like LGD has too much kill threat onto Zeri as long as she dashes away from the CC from Rakan. But Herald is going to get started here as Rakan is just staying in that bottom lane and showing on vision.
Yeah, staying towards that bottom side should mean that Herald is taken. And that'll be 2 neutral objectives back to back for BLG. So far, no kills, no towers, not even played. I don't want to say it too early, but if BLG can maintain control and they don't do anything too aggressive, right now, they could potentially lead towards
aggressive, you wanted it.
Dies. Here we go, Jinjiao in trouble as the lightning chaining onto both players. Elk using the heal for movement speed, the slow onto LPC. They can't finish the job.
In the end, the Zai burns the heal as Meteor does rotate towards his bottom side. But like you said, BLG very happy with the current game state. There's not too much action as we have 2 scaling champions on their draft this time around. But I was telling that LGD was really depending on the level 6 spike. So hopefully we do get to see some action around this bottom side, as Rakan is going to hit level 6 very, very soon.
And I think Elk currently trying to look juicy, because Jinjiao now level 6, LPC level 6. If he can bait it all in while Viego is just on the Krugs, that could look very good for BLG. That could be the opportunity, especially with On having that wild growth. It's very difficult to find a pick.
I was pretty surprised that Herald did go over to the side of BLG, as you do have the hard winning matchup in top lane, while Syndra, although burning Flash level 1, she is still consistently getting the wave in, so pretty concerning that 2 major objectives already in hands of BLG. Also spotted on a ward for Meteor, so BLG getting a lot of information in this early game.
Yeah, so far so good for them. Merc Tread's actually coming out from Hangzhou as his first item, just to make sure that he can't be CC'd up forever by Yagao and Shun. On moving over as Jinjiao gets a deep ward in, but immediate control ward comes out from On. They're fighting for vision control of this river because Drake is going to be up in just under a minute's time, and Meteor and Jinjiao don't want to give another one up.
My eyes are all on Yago's Flash Tibbers, as she also has that Flash available for this next up-and-coming fight, but he has to play really smart because we saw how the Xayah Annie matchup went. If you don't time it correctly, well, the Xayah just gets away scratch-free. However, the vision setup is pretty good from Jinjiao, so Shun does have to face check into the Wukong, but Wukong will reset.
Yeah, the reset comes out from Meteor. Wave shoved in the bottom side. Stun comes out from Shun. No follow-up from the rest of BLG here. But the Herald will charge in. This will be 2 more plates into the pocket of Elk. I mean, you're happy with this one. There's BLG. 4 plates on a Zeri. You're over the moon.
Yagal is, I'm gonna describe him as thick with triple C's, because maybe quadruple C's with the amount of plates going to his hands. 4. As he's also up a bit in CS, but Meteor has sensed the amount of pressure that BLG is putting towards his bot side. Hopefully we get to see a successful team fight.
Oh, could be onto Yagao here. Now skill blood comes up through. He flashes, Meteor flashes after him, and will take the kill down. Shun though, just charging forwards. Meteor the target that time being. He's gone and the resets come in. Jinjiao having to flash to get over to his teammate. They will survive, but a jungler for a mid laner with Drake up on the map. You'll take that every day for BLG.
Yeah, 1-for-1 trade where the second dragon goes into Shun's hands once again. I mean, Yagal getting a little bit too greedy with the way he was pathing, as LGD did set up really good vision earlier on with the Rakan and Wukong. So although burning the flash and the TP, you're still getting the second dragon to your hands, and that's excellent things for a scaling composition.
Yeah, all looking good for BLG. As Yagal walks in, does get caught out by Meteor and Haichao here. The CC chain is tough to deal with.
Yeah,
the fact
pretty
that Meteor
insane.
flashes after him, right? That's where they all go wrong.
I'm just wondering if Xinjiao was able to do anything on this Rakan, because he did miss that W and had to burn the flash himself. So overall, I think LGD definitely struggling a little bit to find the CC onto the enemy team, as Xinjiao no longer has that flash available, so you can't play too aggressive in this bottom lane 2v2, as the tower is extremely low.
Yeah, I mean, it might just get finished off. They've got a minute and 10 seconds to get that final plate, but even if they can't get the plate, honestly, like, just finishing the tower off without plates, it'll go down after a light breeze. But BLG, they would love to take it within the next minute, and on and out, just layering the pressure down.
Yeah, definitely something that you don't want to be seeing from a Zyra Khan lane. You want to see the summoners being burnt from the Lulu and Zeri. Probably weren't able to get that, as it is getting a little bit, I guess, desperate for LGD for this Rakan, because you need to land those spells and you need to play alongside the Wukong, or else you're going to get outscaled.
Oh, Jinzhao does find a knock up here onto Elk. Just denies the recall. On moving over, though, with Meteor in the wings. Could be a bigger play if Meteor moved on over, but it's not going to happen for the time being. Still trying to threaten towards this mid lane. They know Yagao doesn't have a flash, but it's Haichao forced to flash instead.
Oh, Bin, I mean, he gets chunked out. Is it going to be a solo kill?
He's already used the Grandmaster's Might, but he
The
flashes
flash?
on to get the stun! Oh, and it's answered! Sharpshoe finding the solo kill.
Bin getting a little bit too confident in his play, but you need to remember you are Jax up against Gragas, where most of your leads are going to get diffused by a response bump from Gragas's belly, and that is going to be a solo kill into Xiaoshu's favor. I mean, burning the flash as well. I mean, Bin was just trying to get the wave in. He does land the stun. However, you just don't have enough damage at this point, especially when your lead does get cancelled. Getting bumped. Oh, it didn't get cancelled, but got bumped into the little bomba? What is the Q called? Barrel? Yeah, the barrel. And Xiaoxu just finishes everything with a very clean follow-up with his flash.
I think I prefer Bomba. Let's just start
Bomba?
calling you know what? All 4 of Gragas' abilities are now called Bomba. It is how it is. Hang on. LGD spotted on a laser. It will diffuse the potential play. It was Jin Zhao trying to get over the wall with the quickness with the W, but won't be able to find it.
And Shun is just collecting all these major objectives in the early game, having the early game in his control, as even on a Yagal rotating towards his top side, as Elf has moved into the mid lane as well. So a lot of priority.
Yeah. So another neutral objective for BLG. Quiet, controlled gameplay from them so far, which is what we asked for. It's what we want from this team, is consistency. And this sort of style is certainly going to find you consistent wins. LGD actually just going to get ulted by Elk. I think they've got the follow-up to finish anything off here. So LGD will walk away, but good attempt in the mid lane there from BLG. Minute and a half until Drake comes up. It would be the 3rd for BLG if they can get it.
This is so illegal from Elk. He's just playing the game however he likes, burning the ghost and running straight forward. LGD looking very hesitant to ever pull the trigger. I mean, you can't let the Zeri do whatever she wants in this mid to late game. She's just gonna dance on you, but Bin struggling to face up against Gragas, as this might be a solo kill.
Xiaoshu is destroying Bin right now. The Warthog keeps Bin alive. The Grandmaster's Might not enough to give him the MR for this fight. He's getting absolutely annihilated. Xiaoshu is having a phenomenal game.
40 CS up as this tier 1 tower falls as well, but is this Gragas going to be enough to shut down Elk in the later team fights is the main question, as Yagal does have his eyes set onto Haichao here.
Certainly does. Haichao, I think, realizing something might be going on. Yagal just going to start clearing the waves. Shun moving back towards the mid lane. And it's a slow and steady game from BLG, but this Gragas versus Jax matchup, that could be their downfall, honestly. It feels like that is the point in the map where LGD are strongest. Perhaps they can set up some plays playing through Xiaoxu.
Yeah, as long as the other side of the map isn't getting caught out, as we saw the resources going into Xiaoxu's hands, so Haichao being extremely disciplined in that top side as he didn't see a counter gank from the BLG jungler was really well played from the side of LGD.
Yeah, Herald dropped in the mid lane here. Haichao going to TP in there. Drake spawning. And here we go. We could have a 5v5 on our hands here, Kitty. As BLG try and set up. How do LGD find themselves an advantage here?
Bin does get that tower, so if he gets a really nasty flank onto the side of LGD and catches the Xayah off guard, that could be a potential kill going to the hands of BLG. However, once he catches this...
Oh no, flash from Yagao! As LPC in trouble, and kind of an accidental flank from Bin in the end, as Shun happily dodges away from Jinzhao's knockup. Ah well, with the AD carry gone, that's got to be Dragon.
Although it didn't play out the way I described it, it still ended up with LPC dying as Yagao catches the Xayah off guard and just doesn't even need too much as a return. As a third dragon now going to the hands of BLG, as this is a cloud dragon, so the ability haste is going to be extremely nice for the Annie.
Yeah, definitely will be. Having that Tibbers on command as Shun just about gets the skull crab. Jinzhao nearly managed to steal that one with a cube. But so far, so good for BLG. The one thing I will say, their gold lead not that dramatic at this point in the game, but Ben just surviving as long as he needed to, and then LPC caught out. The rest of LGD backs away. A bit still
Couldn't he
here.
flash up?
LPC flashes into it.
Shun was there. Shun was cutting off the other side of the map as she had to flash down, but flashing down just means you're running into Bin and burning both flash and ultimate, as LPC from that fight is going to make you a lot more vulnerable in the next team fight.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one for LGD at this point. I feel like we're kind of running out of momentum a little bit for their squad, but they do have some decent scaling. You've got a Syndra and a Xayah, so perhaps when we get to the 5v5s, it can come back alive. The fact that Bin gets that kill though, man, that's gotta suck for Xiaoxu. Everything's been going so well at the top lane for Xiaoxu. He's been doing such a good job of bullying Bin, and that CS deficit has basically been nullified by the kill.
It's the life of a top laner right now, as Elk is just working towards that BT with the overheal as well. These shields are going to be extremely obnoxious as we go into the later game stages. BT plus Immortal plus overheal.
Oh, Shun locked up here, but actually flashes out to safety. And now the turnaround from Elk. The Zeri free firing, charging up, lightning across the squad. But it will just be the one as Shun and On both managed to walk away.
And we thought LGD had the favor for that fight, but it turns out that no one's hitting Elk. Although you spent all your resources on Shun and On, they just ran away with barely the amount of HP that they had, and Elk was just free firing and got the return kill onto Jinzhao, as he is still extremely squishy without that mythic online. But like we've been saying, this Rakan not doing too much in this game so far, not having any KP as well.
Nice little recall cancel from Haichao there. Not going to be the end of the world for Yagao, but at least he can deny some tempo. His Drake will be coming up shortly.
Yeah, we do see a nice stun onto Shun. Yeah, a lot of ultimates going to Shun as well, but the Lulu ult just saved him as LPC didn't find an angle to DPS and finish off those low HP members of BLG as Zeri, 13.4. Love it.
Yep, Zeri doing Zeri things. Shield bow already in pocket here. 2 minutes on that Drake that would be sold for BLG. Threatening the Baron for the time being, but you can anticipate over the next sort of minute, both teams will try and find vision control of the Dragon so that they can play on the objective before it spawns.
I'm wondering, is Haichao even going to be able to one-shot Elk from a full combo now with the BT, Immortal Shield Bow, and Overheal in his pockets at the 21-minute mark? I mean, this guy got Cho VCS.
Yeah, he's doing okay. He's doing okay. It is late right here for CS. Like, I mean, it's just absurd. It's just absurd. Elk on another level right now. And on a champion that will really reward you for perfect CSing, will really reward you for getting those early kills. Like, the cash in on the Zeri is just absurd. So feels like he's in. I mean, he's going to be unkillable as well in the fights. Like, look at his build with the shield bow and a bloodthirster, plus having a Lulu there. Plus, I mean, even Annie can be used as a peel tool. Like, I feel like it's going to be impossible to kill Elk.
It's going to be very hard to finish off the ADC for BLG because you just weren't active enough in that early game. I mean, you had the Rakan, you had the Wukong, you had so much setup to be aggressive in that early game, but you weren't able to put the Zeri behind. I mean, at this current game stage, I don't think you're going to be able to even stop Zeri from killing your entire team. She's just too ahead.
I'm going to be honest. Jin Zhao did try to be proactive on the Rakan. It's just not many of those knockups landed. I guess is the most political way of saying it. Really tough laning
wasn't
phase.
There.
Yeah. In both senses of the word, in fact. But
yeah, I mean, Dragon is going to be spawning in 20 seconds as flashes are available for BLG. If LPC misplays this once again, it just seems pretty hopeless for LGD in Game 1.
it's a tough one, but we'll see if they can make a miracle happen. We've seen crazier things, especially with the Xayah on the squad of LGD. It's one of these AD carries that really can make a difference in the game. Shun threatening an engage here, but look at Bin in the top lane. BLG, all they have to do is buy time. All they have to do is delay LGD, and Bin will take the base apart. He's already onto a tier 2 here and can continue just pushing away on the Jax. He's more than happy to do this.
They can just straight up do Baron here. They don't care about that 4th dragon. It is just a Cloud Soul that LGD is feeling extremely pressured to starting. BLG already onto this. I mean, Jax does TP back into the play, and they start Baron.
Look at Yagao behind enemy lines. This will be a massive Tibbers if you can find LPC. Only 4 players here for LGD so far. Keeping my eyes on Meteor as he'd be the one to try and make the steal happen. 6k on the back. Yagao sneaking forwards. Hasn't seen LPC just yet, but they've now seen him, and suddenly full retreat from LGD. The knockup onto Yagao, and the quickness as well to disengage the play. LGD, they get the dragon, and I think they might just get away with it in general.
Wow, they defused that perfectly. I mean, Jin Zhao just negates all this, I guess, Yagao from walking forward on Annie, and she wasn't able to get her hands onto LPC. There might be more action, however, they are fighting over this mid lane priority.
They really want to go for it, don't they? Yagao flash forwards, but the thunderstorm! The reactions from LPC are perfect. And it means that once again, BLG can't quite find their mark.
Well, BLG does look like they have the better positioning as Bin is just walking up and cutting them off. Trying to get this tier 1 tower down since Baron isn't getting started by BLG. And I mean, without the Tibbers, you don't really have too much threat from BLG.
Yeah, looks like LGD will back away in the end, and you know what? They are going to start the Baron. They don't care about Tibbers. They're just going to go for this on an LGD. I don't know if they're aware that this is happening. Okay, Blue Orb comes out and will spot the play, but they might just commit to it anyway. Meteor's still here. This could be a 50-50. Okay, TP forced out. Shun still committing. How the hell does Elk get it of all players? Elk secures the Baron. BLG, though, I mean, 50-50ing Baron. Is this really the way you want to play?
I mean, in the end, results matter, Munchables, and the Baron goes into the hands of BLG. Even though Elk secured it, that means there was a world where Meteor just goes in and seals it because Shun wasn't able to secure with his own smite. So a little bit disappointing, but it still does get the scaling composition ahead as LGD just way too late with this TP and they were just full sending it on the Baron. What was the HP like? I mean, it was just like one tick order from Elk, and they had to get away because you weren't going to be getting too much done as all the members were over the wall.
Tense moment in the game right there for BLG, but they do get the Baron, like you say. At the end of the day, it's whoever gets it that matters. And the Infinity Edge now picked up for Elk as well. Massive moment on the Zeri. 300 CS, by the way, at 26 minutes into the game. Elk is just on another level right now. And the Spear of Shojin finished off for Bin as well. Feels like a dangerous moment in the game for LGD. They've got to find some kind of miracle play.
Well, like I've been saying, Munch, this Jax is slowly getting online as the Gragas is forced to group up with the rest of the team because I don't think they're gonna win a straight up 4v4 as been consistently hovering for this top side.
That scout of the week was huge from Hangzhou, hitting both Bin and Shun, denying the engage. Might just to save the tower, but I think with the Baron cannons, it will just eventually go down. If not now, then on the next wave. And in the meantime, Elk can pressure the mid lane. They've got to be careful for Xiaoshu's ult. You definitely don't want to be caught out by that. But again, the Baron buff just allows you to play this nice and slow, play it steady, and be able to slowly but surely finish these towers off. Xiaoshu almost getting taken out by Yagao there. Not quite enough damage though.
Combo does get dropped onto Xiaoshu as he is forced to back, but we need to remember that BLG doesn't have, or BLG Elk doesn't have that cleanse available, so if Xinjiao Haichao is able to land that CC onto the Zeri and everyone spends all the resources onto the AD carry, I mean, that could be a viable option to win a team fight, but you also need to remember that if you're spending all your things killing the Zeri, there's still 4 of the members on BLG.
Yeah. That's the issue, right? Is we've got carries pretty much in every lane. Like Lulu being the only one that's not a carry on this side of BLG. Even Shun can just take over a team fight. So LGD, they have to play this perfectly. And again, 45 seconds on Drake. This will be solved. This time there's no Baron to trade. This time there's nothing else on the map that LGD can play around with to find themselves an advantage. This will just be 5v5.
LGD is trying to look for a pick before this fight, however, BLG is a little bit split. Can they find it, however, is the question, because they're not going to win a straight up 5v5 anymore. Zeri's too big.
Very close to getting stunned there, but Elk zips over the wall, keeps himself alive. Haichao can't quite find his mark. I feel like Xiaoshu has to be a big player here. Gragasol can set everything up. Shun is behind the team, and Jin Zhao caught out alone, has to use the quickness just to side his bin. Gets a double counter strike, and out there to follow up as well. LPC doesn't get a chance to play. It's Bin jumps in with another counter strike. Bin is insane. Shun looking for more as well. It's the re-engage later in the fight here. Out following up. This will be a tier 2. I don't even care about the dragon.
Oh my god, BLG said, screw the dragon, we're gonna go for a full-on engage, and Bin lands a nasty 2 stun onto LPC and I believe someone else, but mainly LPC because Yago follows up with the Tibbers and he is just straight up dead even with the flash and ultimate available. I mean, this Xayah, it is a very good pick into something like BLG's composition, but you need to be proactive and you have to use the ultimate before the fight even begins. You need to predict it.
Yeah, you gotta be ready for Bin to jump on and kick everything off. 2 in is taken by BLG here as they'll move over and grab themselves a soul as well. A massive play from Bin. Great follow-up from Yagao as well. And then the bonus stun on the back of the fight to get Bin his triple kill after how tough that laning phase was as well.
Yeah, no one would have guessed that Bin had probably one of the worst early games that he could have had as the Jax up against Gragas. I'm just having a little bit of fun putting out the emojis. But this game state, double inhib down for LGD. All they have to do is work towards that top point now. We're gonna see a bit of the replay as Bin gets the stun onto the backline of LGD. No one just reacted. And Yago flies over the wall out of vision, so LPC couldn't react and press the ultimate himself, where it's just way too much CC from BLG, and Bin even following up with the flash stun. How do you play these team fights, Munch?
I mean, you just got to be a bit more preemptive, I think, for LPC. Like, he knew he was in range of Bin there, but didn't have the reactions to go for the Feather Storm.
Look at Bin's damage.
Yeah, I mean, it's absurd. It's absurd. Just able to free hit, honestly. And against a composition like this, Jax should not be free hit. That should not be how this works. But Shun, happy to face check this one. Just brute forcing LGD out of these plays because the LG know there's no way LGD could win a fight.
Like we've been saying, even if you do kill the Zeri in this team fight, Bin exists, level 16 now. And just so much CC and peel from the side of BLG. I don't think LPC is going to be able to handle the front line of BLG anymore.
No, it's kind of funny as well to see that Elk almost 400 CS at 31 minutes. Like, first off, that's just mind-blowing in of itself. But also, he's on 4 items. And yet, in the most important fight of the game so far, he wasn't even the carry. It was Bin. Bin just comes out of left field, takes all of the credit for himself, and maybe an MVP with that kind of play. Elk, after all
Elk,
of this farming, you'd think that he would be the biggest one, but in that last fight, Elk wasn't really the big center point.
And that did secure them the bottom inhibitor as well, but now with Baron minions, the base is just going to get swarmed by supers. So LGD, I mean, if you're not going to pull the button now, I don't think you're going to have a chance later on in the game.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I'm curious to see who does get MVP, because I definitely agree that Elk, up until this point, or maybe even Shun actually, setting up the early game incredibly well. I feel like the whole squad of BLG has been doing well. And the only one that was struggling a bit in the earlier game, but definitely making it up for himself in that previous fight. And now pressuring in the bottom side as Shun pressures in the mid lane. A bit of a 3-1-1 from BLG, just to make sure that the pressure is there. Wave's not exactly synced up, but it's difficult to deal with these Baroned up super minions. And Bin happily dodging away from the pressure of both solo laners from LGD. And that means the rest of the base will be blown open, and the rest of the health bars will be blown apart. LPC saving his Featherstorm for next game, it seems, as it's a double kill for Yagao, and BLG dominate LGD in game number 1 of the series.
Beautiful starting game for the side of BLG. I believe Yagao ending the game with 100% KP on this Annie, so definitely put in tons of work as that utility mid laner and really enabled the side lanes of Bin and Elk to pop off on their comfort champions. The Jax was just a monster later on.
Yeah, absolutely insane stuff coming out from BLG. Slow, steady, clear win conditions and playing to them like